Is that turned up for a reason? Okay. Is it too loud? If somebody in the back could close the doors, that would be wonderful. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm assuming everybody in the back can hear me, right? Thank you. Yeah, something close to us. Great. Thank you. All right, so this is the Working Group Chairs Forum meeting. As a reminder, I'll go through these following set of slides. I do want to credit Greg and the LLC for creating these slides. So if you're looking for templates for your just kick off your meeting, these are the standardized IETF ones. So this is an official IETF meeting. It will be recorded and posted online. All of the rules and processes of the IETF apply. If you have any questions about any of these, please see any of our leadership. There's some additional points to consider. You can download these from Data Tracker and take a closer look. And here's our meeting tips. I'm assuming that most of you as working group chairs are familiar with all of these meeting tips, but I put them up here so that you can remember that you could actually use these for your meetings if you wish to. And with that, we get to our agenda. We have a fairly light agenda today, although it has filled up a tiny bit. Is there any agenda bashing for this? No? I did not ask in advance for somebody to specifically take notes. Is anybody taking notes? Rich is? Okay, great. We are using the notepad that's linked from the agenda so that anybody can feel free to contribute additional notes as we go. And with that, we'll start with Greg, who's going to give a quick EODIR update. Welcome to the X.
The famous pink X. My name is Greg Wood. I'm one of the co-coordinators for the Education and Outreach Directorate, along with Karen O'Donohue, hi Karen, and Dhruv Dodi. And I'm here to just give a little overview about what EODIR does and why chairs like you should care. The summary is that EODIR, sorry, I'm almost over jet lag. EODIR coordinates among a lot of different activities that are aimed to make IETF participants, leadership, chairs like yourself, more effective and better able to do the work of the IETF. For example, Karen mentioned the slide chair templates that we produce for every meeting. We do documentation for Medico, and these are sort of loosely coordinated efforts. You'll hear about a few more of these later in this agenda. And what EODIR does is get together. Obviously, there's a mailing list. We have meetings in interims between IETF plenary meetings online, and then we also have meetings side meetings in person at IETF plenary meetings, like we will this Friday morning. So if you are interested in any of this, please come. I just real quickly, because I know some of this will be covered by other folks, Dhruv and Michelle. Okay, so as I said, we do have these meetings and coordination. We produce resources for working group chairs, like the slides, but also guides to how to get particular things done. There's a chairs wiki, for example, chairs.ietf.org, that covers details and provides resources about processing documents or arranging meetings. So especially if you're a incoming chair or a new chair, that's a great resource. And the other activities are coordinated or led by other folks. So, for example, Michelle coordinates the new participants program, which we'll talk some more about. In summary, I would say join the mailing list, contribute if you have ideas, especially about other things that could be done to make either you as chairs or participants more effective. We'd love to hear them, and especially if you have ideas about or know of things that are already being done or underway, we'd love to make sure that there's the synergy among these different activities. So yeah, so come on Friday morning, I think it's 8:15 as a side meeting, and find out what's going on, contribute your ideas. Love to hear from you. Any questions about any of that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Dhruv?
Hi, everyone. Let me talk about the O in EODIR, which is the outreach. And these are the various different outreach activities. The slides are very colorful, so be ready. Next slide, please. So what does the outreach at EODIR means? We basically are the ones who are coordinating all the activities. We are not actually doing all the outreach ourselves, but we help out. We help out in various ways, such as consolidating all the materials so that's available somewhere. There is some starter slides that anybody can use, and a set of common best practices, what had worked, what hadn't worked, a way for people to share all that information. So that's sort of coordination action that we have been doing. We are still looking for new ideas of what else can be done, how can we help out to folks who are actually doing the outreach out there. That's our aim of the outreach function here. The target for us is basically focusing on the new participants into the IETF. They could be operators, enterprises, educational and research, all the folks, and even regions where we see less participation, or the regions where we take our IETF meeting to, like Thailand, for instance. So that's the outreach coordination at EODIR. Next slide. We also have, I think we skipped one. Can you go back? Oops, triple?
Huh? Yeah, 2, 3.
There was one more slide about, I can talk about it. The slide that I added was there is an IAB outreach coordinator function as well. And that function is mainly about coordinating the outreach that's done by the leadership, folks in the IAB, ISG, as well as more focused on the external bodies. And like we had the discussion about WCS plus 20. So that's one of the outreach that IAB is coordinating with respect to going to IGF and other external bodies as well. So which is little different from the function of the EODIR, but that's just to set the scene. Now, coming back to the outreach, as I was mentioning, the outreach we have done to network operators. So things like Apricot, Ripe, Nanog, those comes to mind. Regional participation to academia and students, sometimes even to policy events, open source community, researchers, all of this are common outreach activities that we do under EODIR. Next. Oh, I moved the slides around. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the list on our wiki page. You will find a list of activities that we have done. We have tried to link to the videos and slides just so that folks who are taking these activities have a list of what has been done in the past. So it gives folks ideas. And if you are taking care of any outreach, come and update that wiki. It's a community wiki, and we want to maintain all that information in one common place. So these are some of the recent activities. I will go through some of them in the slides as well. There was an event in Bangalore. There was an event here in Thailand, Bangkok as well. Apricot, which was in Malaysia last month. IAB organized an EMOPS workshop, which was focused on network management and operations. So of course, we went to various operational events as well. So there is details about that. NetMission, NetDev is an open source event. Next slide. Uh, Things like internet governance schools, local IGFs, all of this is covered. So one of the events which I wanted to highlight was something that we did on Thursday, which was in Bangalore. There was Ketan and me who were there at the pre-IETF Bangalore meetup. This we started back in 2017 as an in-person event just before the Asian IETF meeting. There have been folks in the room who have come in person for that in the past, which was very good. We went online when the rest of the world went online for a while. And finally, we came back as an in-person event, and it worked really well. And it was mostly presenters all locally. We didn't have any big planning of inviting folks from outside. We were like, let's just do it within the community that we have in India, and it worked really well. Check out the websites, good presentation. Some of those folks are part of the hackathons and making presentations at the IETF meeting here as well. So that's been pretty good. So just an idea of one of the regional efforts under the outreach activity. Next slide. This was a panel that we did at the Apricot, focusing on regional operator participation, that why the operators from this part of the world, Asia Pacific, specifically are missing at IETF. What can we learn? What are the ideas from the community there? So this was very good. We had Zahid, Gunther, me, participating from the leadership side. We have folks from APNIC Foundation, operators from the region, as well as academics from the region, and just openly discussing what can we do. Next slide. Some of the key points that came out of that discussion was that, are we reaching to the right operator folks? When we go to, especially at the high level at Apricot and APNIC, are those the operators who could contribute to the IETF, or should we go to the more NOC communities and maybe the local IETFers from the region, the ISOC chapters, and the local NOCs? That kind of community building is worth looking at. So that was one of the ideas that we are thinking of, what's the next step and how to take that forward. Another thing was, how does an operator participate? And can that be just bringing their problem to the IETF? And we have a way to do that, which is easy. And then maybe somebody has an option of taking a back seat, because most of the time the operators do complain that it takes way too much of their time and they are busy doing a lot more activities. So how can they still contribute? By maybe bringing the problems, we have a way of collecting them and then tracking back to them without our always pitch has been, come to the IETF, you have to do the work, which is remains true. It's a bottom-up organization. You want to change something, you have to come to the IETF. But with operator communities, it might be worth looking that, is there a way out where we can say that, yes, you can bring problems, talk to the chairs, have a wiki, submit your information, but you can still take a back seat while the working group is working out the details of how to solve those problems out there. Or for us to validate that what we are solving is worth solving in their networks as well. Many people said that remote participation has helped, but still the issues with time remains as one of the key factors. So how do we do that? Remains a thing worth discussing. We did brought up, there was an operator survey which ISOC did a couple of years back, which highlighted what were the main barriers. Many folks said that it might be a good idea to re-look into it. Have things changed? Are there new barriers? Have things improved in some ways? Those were very good discussions that happened. All of this is available online. You can go to the Apricot site and search for this panel as well if you're interested. Next slide. This was IO Foundation, which did an IETF training in Bangkok. So this is an activity of the community members taking an initiative and organizing an event. They did this on Saturday before this IETF. And then those students also participate in the IETF events and our new participants program as well. So somewhere where EODIR was able to help, and we have Gene walking in at the right time while we are talking about his effort at the IO Foundation and this IETF training. Thanks for organizing that. Next slide. So final message, if you are considering doing outreach to external communities, we have some resources which we can help out with. We have our mailing list. We can help you with what has worked in the past, connect you with the right set of people. Many times people say that we would want an outreach with a very specific mindset, whether it could be hackathon, it could be IRTF. There are various different ways in which we participate in the ITF. So figuring it out, how to message that and how to find the right presenters, for instance, all of this we can help out with. So please reach out. Thank you. And we have questions.
Thank you, Drew. Jeff has. So for the operator outreach, as examples, Sue Harris and I have done, like presentations at NANOG, giving people updates on BGP. My general experience is they do like to see us periodically. They get a relatively low amount out of it, but it is helpful to remind them that we exist and we're trying to help them. We've tended to see that most of the stuff we are talking about is several steps down the road for them, and they care about the today. So that becomes a sort of interesting challenge. The flip side of things is that the operators that do care to get involved, having an on-ramp for them to participate in IETF has been one of their challenges. One of the activities that I do is, as part of what I do for Juniper, is I help on-ramp customers for IETF 101. Here's what we do for things. How's IETF handles stuff, and we've seen good success from especially 3 or 4 very active sets of customers that come in to do specific work, and they're now actual good participants. So, in my opinion, that's where we get the best bang for the buck.
Yeah, agree with Jeff, and Jeff's slides are listed on that wiki. So if other working group chairs are taking their work to the operator community, that's a very good template to follow. One thing I would also want to highlight is at the operator communities, it's good to say that we do lots of ops related work as well. And sometimes it's doesn't get the limelight. So focusing on V6 ops, CIDR ops, other things I go with as a chair for SR V6 ops, that these are the ops related discussion that is where we need you. We are waiting for your inputs and come to us. And that sort of a mindset change also is worth trying out.
This is Barry Lieba. Are you familiar with the Next Gen program in ICANN? So I'll talk to you afterwards, but I think that's a great place to do some outreach for the other people who don't know it. It's a program where young people from age 18 to 30 are invited to come to ICANN meetings, and they're technologists from the region that the ICANN meeting is in at the time. And they're invited to come and talk about the work they're doing and meet ICANN people and meet other technologists who are there. And I think we could outreach to them and get them connected to the IETF as well. So.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh yeah, John Gita, Data Trails and SCIT Working Group. So a comment that you made triggered a memory in me. I used to be much more active in the Linux Foundation. I was on the governing board of Hyperledger and a couple of other projects. And for various reasons, it was important to people to be recognized as contributors to the working group. And obviously the easy way to do that is to write code or to write specs. But that community went to quite a lot of lengths to recognize marketing or use case or connections also as contributions. So the comment that you made about maybe the operators come in, but then they take a step back and let the working group work on it. I mean, clearly that on its face is a dreadful idea because it just defocuses the working group and takes all responsibility away. But if there's a way that we could have a stream of this meeting or a sort of slightly more, dare I say, it might be a dirty word, a sort of marketing friendly kind of strand where people can come with very crisp and well described and very accurate use cases and problems they want to solve, and also feel valued that they put together a slide deck rather than RFC, that made a huge difference in that community. So it'd be something worth thinking about.
Michael?
My turn?
Yes.
Michael Richardson, ASDF, I guess, is my working group. So this morning and yesterday morning, there were BOFs that were, the details don't matter, but a lot of the pull was actually from operators. They were not well represented, I would say, in the thing. There was a lot of pushback from, I would say, not operators. I'm thinking as you were talking that it's not enough for us to come and talk to them about the stuff we've already done. We actually need to do the opposite and say, what are the problems you're actually having? And then we need to actually listen to them. And I don't know that we have a clear way of doing that. You know, we could send out surveys and say, are you interested in this BOF work or something like that? I don't know if that would be terribly useful or whatever, or would really fit into our rough consensus process. But I don't see that we have a way in our process to kind of accept that stuff in, particularly, you know, the 2 hours of a BOF at a particular time at a particular place. Maybe we need to go, I don't want to say a bit slower, but maybe a little more inclusively over the process of the BOF timeline and make sure that, you know, we actually are doing this. The other side I wanted to mention is that last year and the year before, at least for me, the IETF, fall IETF was geographically and time-wise close to RIPE, and I went to both. This year will not happen because IETF in Europe is in the summer and RIPE is in the fall and the spring. And I try to optimize the number of times across the Atlantic to be fewer. But that is something to think about, I think, is that we may need to think more carefully about actually putting people with actual IETF hats, you know, literally IETF guy on their hat, and say, you know what, part of your job is outreach to these places, and they should be prepared to be pinholed in the hallway and, you know, take notes, okay, respectfully. And I think that's a good idea, and I think that basically we've just grown and our verticals of our own lives have made it harder for that to happen. We can no longer depend upon that. I know someone at Cisco who knows someone who has a customer, blah, blah, blah. Those companies are too big. They don't know what's going on. We're going to have to cut through some of that bureaucracy, essentially. And so what you're doing is wonderful, but maybe we need 2 more steps. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is Yingzhen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Turn it down a little bit louder.
Louder now? Okay.
Perfect.
My name is Yingzhen Xu. Me and Jeffrey Zhang, we are on the NANOG program committee. So since Jeff has mentioned the IDR presentation at NANOG, so for me, one of the motivation to join the NANOG program committee is to bridge the gap between IETF and the operator community. So I mainly work in routing area, so I know some the routing area working groups, but not necessarily all other working groups. So I'd be happy to bring if you think there are something important going on in your working group, you like to communicate with NANOG, do a presentation there, please reach out to me or Jeffrey. We'd be happy to help.
Thanks, Yingzhen. And
Sure.
actually, we have a bunch of ITFers that go do both. So I think we may just start putting that information on our wiki so that it's easier for folks to reach. For instance, I do the same for Apricot, you're doing for NANOG, and I'm sure we have folks from RIPE as well. So I think, yeah, it's a good idea.
We did for IDR, we also did
Yes.
for the IB workshop. So
Yes.
I think it was all good. So
Yeah,
in
thank you.
case you are looking for help, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan?
Yeah, in terms of outreach, I mean, as an open source guy, et cetera, I did a crazy thing last week and organized outreach in Tampere, Finland, of all places, for operators and implementers of this tiny little protocol, which a couple people use. There's about 20 people there, which shocks me, because in RADX, it's usually like 4. I hope I've managed to convince them to actually show up, either virtually or on the mailing list. But this is an issue. A lot of these people are running networks. The people running the networks have no idea that they can participate or aren't allowed to participate. And a good chunk of the time I spent was, hey, you're all having the same problems. If you show up, you can fix the standards, which then fix the implementation, so you stop having the problems. So I mean, we can put up websites and all this, but there's some outreach there that we need to be better at.
I'll reach out to you after this. Yeah.
Pete?
Pete Resnick. I missed the beginning of the talk because I was out in the hall kibitzing. I'll make it a question because of that. What is the involvement with the IAB and this? Because IAB is sort of the outreach entity in many ways for the IETF. Ah, I knew we'd get there. So good. My main comment was the operator community has, for as long as I can remember, had this problem. And we've made outreach attempts in the past to better and worse results, but this is the nut that doesn't want to get cracked. You know, it would be great if we could get the operator community in here and feeling like they can push back against certain things that are not in their interest, but there is a great deal of, I don't want to call it resistance. There's a tension always between what the operators want and what suppliers of equipment want to give them. And I think it is important for both the IAB on the outreach end to recognize that, for us to recognize it when we go to those communities, and for the IESG to start questioning the output of certain working groups and saying, we don't see how the operators' inputs have been accommodated in this, and you guys need to give us that before we will accept this document. So I think this is one piece of the puzzle, but isn't going to solve the real problem that we keep seeing, which is the standards process sort of ignores operator needs in certain real ways.
All right, the last person in the queue. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, everyone, I am the chair from the operators. I think I have some experience for participating in the IETF. You know, if you expect only the operator to come to here to say their requirement or their problem, I think it is not very interesting for them, because, you know, in practice, I think there are some, they also want to make some contribution. So, you know, but I think not every person in the operator will have time to dive deep into the technology to make some comment. But I think there are some plans that the operator can express their opinion. For example, the working group adoption call or working group last course, and also the IESG last course. Because from my opinion, I think the standard defined in the IETF will be deployed in the operator network. If they can be deployed, it is, I think they are the successful standard. If they are only put in the IETF operator, I think it is not the successful standard. And we also encounter some situation, you know, from the vendor's point of view, the standard can be implemented, but it will be challenged in the deployment situations. So I think if the expert from the service provider can more influence for the final approval of the document or the adoption of the document, I think maybe make the IETF standard more practical or more suitable to future deployment. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
And while, oh, well, go ahead. We got one more. Sorry, I didn't see you get added to the queue.
No problem. Alira Zaki. Mine is also a question. So we are reaching out to the operator community. Vendors are well represented. How about end users? How do you reach out to the end user communities?
I think that's always has been a big challenge. And in some ways, we also kind of weird because we are also the end users of lots of our technology we develop. We have, of course, do wear two hats. So in that ways, we haven't, at least in the outreach side, we haven't prioritized this, but I want to hear more from you. If there are civil society groups or particular groups that we should definitely be reaching out, we are, of course, open to that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so wonderful.
More conversations, please. Yes.
Yep, thanks.
All right, thank you again. So one note while Michelle is coming up. Part of the reason for putting, this might have been implicitly, this was implied, but just to explicitly state it, for each of your working groups, you should be thinking about what kind of outreach you need to do and what kinds of communities you need to outreach to in order to get the right participants into your working group. And so the hope is that the materials that Greg and others have put on the wiki would contribute to that. So, you know, it's, I don't know if it's written down as an official duty, but it helps make your working group run better if you have the right people in the room. And go ahead.
Just a real quick request, since this is Robert Sparks, since people have finished eating lunch and have the opportunity to like handle their devices again, if you've not signed into this session, please do so.
I'm sorry, I just missed the last part. Oh, if you haven't signed in, yes, please do sign in, because if you don't, next time you might not have lunch.
Or we'll have a smaller room.
David Skenazy, food enthusiast.
Okay, I am Michelle Cotton, and I work with the IETF Secretariat, focusing on coordinating the new participant activities at the IETF. So we're just going to give you a quick update on what we did here at IETF 122 with the new participant program. So just to look, take a look back and see what we were doing at previous IETF meetings. We offered a 1-hour session on the Sunday of the IETF meeting. And during that session, we did some, housekeeping, explained the note well. We talked a little bit about the IETF structure and a little bit about standards. We definitely talked about the people and the resources and where you can go for information, and kind of took a look at what the IETF meeting week looks like. What are these dots on the badges and things of that nature. We also just talked about what to look forward to during the week as far as new participant activities go. So keep in mind that was a 1-hour session on Sunday. Next slide, please. So we introduced here in Bangkok a completely different revised program for new participants. And we were really hoping to get new participants to be more productive at their meetings, more effective, learn more things ahead of time before they actually embark on going to working group sessions. So this program took place from 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And then we immediately ushered them into quick connections. So it was a very, very long day. We had 7 total sessions delivered by multiple volunteers, and Karen and Rich were there. I see a bunch of other volunteers in the audience, so thank you again for helping out on that first iteration of the program. We really appreciate it, and so does the community. We also offered a complimentary lunch, which always gets people to go to programs. And so where we're at right now is we are collecting feedback. We sent out surveys after each session to find out what worked well, what didn't, getting feedback, and Jay is currently collecting that information right now. And then we just had lots of conversations with new participants throughout the week. We talked to them at Quick Connections and in the hallways. We have a Thursday new participant social, kind of to wrap up the week and we talk at that social about how their week went. So we're just constantly gathering feedback. But we are going to mention the program also in the end of meeting survey, the post-meeting survey. So after all of that's collected, we'll be able to look and analyze all of that information. So next slide. Oh, that doesn't look pretty on there. And just taking a look at what we told the new participants on why we're running this program and what they can expect. Again, we just really wanted to teach them as much as we could in the short amount of time that we had, what it takes to become a productive and effective IETF participant. There were a lot of questions surrounding obviously bringing new work to the IETF. We had a panel. We had Lars Eggert, Lisha Zhang, and Bjorn, and I won't pronounce his name right, as participants that have been involved in the IETF for various different lengths of time. Alicia, I think, started at IETF 1. And Bjorn, I think, had been to 6 or 7. So we had a wide range, and they helped with hints on what worked well, but they talked a lot about, you know, reading drafts ahead of time, coming to the IETF with a problem that's not perfectly solved so you can work together. There's a lot of tips and suggestions to the new participants on what you can do when coming to the IETF. And the other thing we really wanted to focus on is this new group of participants. And there were, you know, approximately 50 to 60 people in the room for each of these meetings. They can build this group together. They're all coming in together, rely on each other, network, and support each other in this new journey with the IETF. And then we had a couple of, some of the speakers were from current and past leadership. Also, we talked about some hot topics, things that were happening during this week in Bangkok. And of course, we continued Quick Connections, and that just seems to be a favorite event where you actually get to meet leadership. It demystifies that there's this, you know, ISG leadership way over here, and no, you can talk to them, and they're IETF participants with goals just like you. So it was really, really a really great day. I'm very pleased with it. Next slide, please. And so this is just a quick look at what our agenda was for the day. Again, lots and lots of information, probably not long enough breaks for everybody, but it was a good trial run. You can see we really took that 1 hour session that we had on Sunday and really broke it apart, tried to really focus on the topics that they really, really needed information on to be able to start integrating into the IETF as soon as possible. We also had a little fun thing too. We had Charles come in to talk about the hackathon, and then we did a little live cut over to Benno that was in the hackathon meeting room so they could see what was going on, maybe attract even more hackathon participants for the next IETF. But yeah, you can look at slides later and take a look at all the things we covered. And if you see anything that's majorly missing there, let us know. Oh, you have a question? No, oh, how many slides?
Oh yeah, we just finished.
Okay, yeah, we just have just a couple more slides and then we'll get to questions. But again, very well attended. The new participants were really happy with the content and just the amount of detail that we went into. It seemed to be just right, but we are going to look at that in post surveys and in talking to people. And they really liked the panel, just to be able to have that conversation with experienced IETFers and ask questions and get some real life examples in more of a conversation style session rather than just reading slides. So that was really great, and Karen moderated that, and it was awesome. We're going to learn more I'd say stay tuned to see what other information we get back from the feedback. And last slide. So yeah, that's where we're at. We're going to adjust content, potentially remove, add content as we see fit. We may reshuffle things around to see if it flows better from topic to topic. We're going to look at the schedule, maybe change the lengths of the sessions, looking to give maybe longer breaks for people to just take a deep breath before we jump into the next session. And also, lastly, we maybe explore some ways to have the sessions be a little bit more interactive. It's hard with 60 people, and they sometimes don't know what to ask. They don't know what they don't know. So we are going to explore some ideas, though, to see how we can maybe get people up to the microphone a little bit more in the sessions, get them practicing. We really tried to practice good working group etiquette in these sessions. We had them sign in with BeatEcho. We had them come to the microphone and state their names. So hopefully they'll be all prepared for the working group sessions during the week. With that, I will pause for questions.
Rod?
And
Rod, excuse me, Rod Van Meter. This really sounds fantastic. Thanks to you and everybody who put it together. I'm sure it was a ton of work. Question slash suggestion. Are you planning on tracking over the next year or two how many of these newcomers become regular attendees and participants in some way, shape, or form?
I would say yes.
Good, thanks.
We have tried it in the past to look at participation numbers as far as especially like regional. So if they came to an Asia Pacific meeting, did they come to the next Asia Pacific meeting? Because sometimes they only go to meetings in their region. Do they come to the next meeting? It gets a little tricky tracking that, but yeah, we're definitely looking at trying to see who comes back. Or not only who comes back, but who actually is working, potentially like authoring a draft or made a comment on a mailing list. That's another way to track participation, not necessarily just in the meeting.
Adrian?
Adrian Farrell-Katz Working Group. Thank you for this work. It's incredibly important to be welcoming to our newcomers, and we forget what a steep learning curve the culture is. I'm listed on the potential mentor list, but I have my setting as I will set it meeting by meeting. And of course I forget. This time the prod that came out saying, please remember to volunteer was really, really late. And I think by the time I got to it, I probably was too late. But it was also really hard to find where it is I toggle that setting for the next meeting. So if that could be a little easier, I might manage to toggle it earlier.
Yeah, we will. I'll take that back. I also work with the guides program leads, and we are trying to do a better job at getting folks signed up with a guide, because all the feedback we get from the guides program is that it's extremely helpful. We do tend to get this rush of signups like a couple days before the meeting, despite like on the new participant mailing list, I'm telling them about the program, telling them to sign up early, but never fails that we get the signups at the last minute. But point taken, Adrian, and we will try to do a better job at reminding the experienced ITFers to come help us out with that.
Ali?
Hi, Ali Rezaki, Sustain RG. Thanks very much for your efforts. It's a hugely important program. One question, how many of the newcomers were to the IRTF? And I saw you listed IRTF as an advanced topic, but are there participants who are directly entering into the IRTF research groups?
So we actually don't have that breakdown between who is specifically coming for IRTF versus the IETF working groups. Something we can note and potentially look at.
Or do they, for example, ask for a certain variation of the introduction towards IRTF new participants
So-
as compared to IETF?
In the advanced topics section that you referred to, we did talk about the IRTF. There were a number of students in the room for the program. And so often they are coming to IRTF sessions, but again, I don't have a perfect breakdown there, and we can take the suggestion about potentially having something more focused for them. We have to see if that would work or not. But again, we got it in the notes, so thank you for the suggestion.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
David.
Hi, David Skenazy, lunch enthusiast. Thanks, Michelle, for doing this. This program's really great. I remember going to it myself in Dallas in March of 2015. And I learned a lot and it was helpful. And I think making it longer was a great idea. And I think what you're saying about that is great. Talking to some newcomers, the overwhelming feedback was it was great, but oh boy, I'm just exhausted. So yeah, maybe having something a little bit less content would be good, but no, please keep doing this. This is absolutely great. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to remind everybody, I didn't do this alone. There was lots of help. Couldn't have done it without the other folks supporting this program. So thanks.
Quick question about those sessions. Were those sessions recorded and will they be available externally to people?
Yes, yes, they were all recorded. They were all via Meetecho also. So there was remote participation available, and they'll be linked in the agenda, just like the others.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is sometimes if people know ahead of time and watch those, it might encourage them to come to the IETF in the first place. So it just demystifies something. If you can do that ahead of time, then.
Yeah, and actually some new participants didn't go to the program on Sunday because they actually went to the hackathon both Saturday and Sunday. So I was actually talking with Charles earlier. I'm going to drop a note to the new participants who just went to the hackathon, letting them know there's these materials there and they can review them at their leisure.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
Rob Wilson, Green Working Group. So just one quick thought. I haven't actually seen all the things you were presenting that day, but could you maybe have a session, you want something more interactive, doing a live edit and submitting a draft? Because I think with some of the tooling, in an hour, you could actually have somebody do that live and do a quick example and post it and show actually it's not that much of a barrier to get an initial draft in.
So we have talked about this, and I see Jay here and Greg's here. Like we've definitely talked about this, trying to find, I think, the time to be able to do that, considering it might have been too much what we did on that day. Could that be a different day's exercise? We've noted it. We've heard that suggestion a lot. I think it's just a matter of trying to find out where that fits.
And one other sort of related suggestion is to, and it's sort of related to what David was saying, is to split some of the content between people who come for the very first IETF and some people who might come to like the second one. And then you could have a bit more different content for that, although it requires more presenters, it requires more IETFers to help with the work.
I will add that to the feedback.
Thanks.
And Rob was a presenter, so.
Jay Daly, IETF Executive Director. So going back to Rifat a minute ago, the intent is to use this content, once we've revised it, to have someone present it direct to camera, to create a series of videos then based on that are not the live videos that we've used, but can then be used. They don't then have to fit within the same timing that we've used here. They can be broken down into smaller segments and people can then use and read them at their leisure. And the other intent of the day was to make this that people can drop in on any of the sessions. So back to Rob's point here, so that if they know some things and don't know others, they can just come to the sessions where they don't know things and learn the more advanced topics and other things that way.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Jay just said. People who signed up for the program, a lot of that was just to make sure we had enough room, and we did have this lunch, so we needed numbers. But there was no like, you didn't have to sign up to go to any of these sessions. All new participants and even experienced participants were welcome. So, yeah. Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Hinden. So this is wonderful work. Please continue it, make it better. So my other thought here is that I think we need to also think about how to turn new participants into long-term participants, because it's getting people to come and at the beginning is great, but we, the real goal is to get them to keep coming for long periods of time, because that's how you become effective and do real work here. I don't know what the solution is, but maybe we can start thinking about that more.
Well, I think part of the program, one of the goals was to make sure that the information was provided to a new participant in a way that it wasn't, it demystified things. It provided enough information that they could jump into the IETF meeting that week and start being productive. Where you kind of guess that a lot of people come to the IETF and they're like, oh my God, this is just too much and it's too overwhelming, and they don't come back. And that's what we're trying to avoid, and make sure that they have what they need to jump right in and start interacting and be successful. So of course it depends on what their individual goals are at the meeting, but yeah, point taken. We need them to continue on and contribute. And Jay, do you have any other words?
So,
no?
Sorry, maybe a follow-up on your last comment there. Do we follow up with those people that don't come and try to understand the reason for them not coming again? Like, is that something? Okay.
Jay Daly again. We tried that, and we had such a low level of response from those people that the data that we got is not really worth anything. And so we tried quite considerably to get hold of people to do that. So it doesn't look as if we can do that quantitatively. We may well be able to meet some people, interview them, and get a qualitative answer to that, but we haven't looked at that yet.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Hi. So this title could be also titled Training for Old Participants, not new participants. So this is a pet peeve, and my apologies, these slides were assembled like an hour ago. Based upon, my experiences as a working group chair, but also trying to interact with other working groups that have different levels of experience. I mean, I came to the IETF as a coder, and it was obvious to me that in the days of NROF that my ID belonged in, well, it was RCS, if you know that, and then CVS, and then, something else. Now we're all GitHub happy. So next slide, please. I'm trying to embarrass myself only. I'm a co-author of this document, and this is what our GitHub looked like 3 weeks ago or something like that. This is a document that has not progressed recently. And Pascal is retired now, actually, and he's never really got Git at this point, right? We have a GitHub here that has an XML file, and for some reason has a text file, and that's not terribly useful, except that not everyone knows how to format it or find them. And the README, I cut it off, but it doesn't have any contents. It says placeholder. That's what it says. And so there's no instructions on how to build it. There's no makefile, and it's hard to track. But at least there's one file. You could come along and if you found it, you could do a pull request. What I say is, so this is good, not better, and the thing I'm trying to get at, actually, I want to talk to you about is basically, and to a certain extent, how do we get the old timers to come to parts of that newcomer training? Because things evolve and things train, and things, and it's the people that aren't showing up at the training that we really need to train, okay? The people who realize they have a gap in their knowledge go seek some training, and the rest of them kind of, whatever. There's a joke that says, you know, maybe I won't say that joke. It's about, you know, if you, anyway, I'll skip that part. Nobody, huh? Code of conduct, yes, I'm censoring myself here. Okay, so let me give the next thing. The next thing, I really was hesitant about including this, but I want to really emphasize the point, and some of the people are in the room, and I've warned them already. So next slide, please. Okay, so this was a Git repo that I came across, and I wanted to contribute to it. It doesn't look like this now. People have learned, okay? But what do you see? You see an XML file, a text file, an OO text XML, a O1 text XML, an O2 text XML, and we don't have a real idea of which one's the recent one, and how would I do a pull request on this? So I'm talking to you as working group chairs. If you see this happening, this is a clear sign that your authors need help, okay? This is just using it like Dropbox. You just sent me some files, I download them, and I have no idea what to do. I don't even know which one is the current one, unless I look at the data tracker and figure out that we're at 03, so probably the one without the number is the one to use. But that might not be true. It might be a different thing. So you have massive confusion, and it defeats the whole point of having revision control, which is that I can figure out what changed from time to time to time, okay? And why does this happen? Well, I think it happens because people who aren't regular programmers don't feel trust that Git is trusted, that it will remember their stuff, and they're paranoid. And you see this often, you know, people have 27 copies of some Word document on their desktop, and they don't know which one's the recent one, but they save the new one just in case, even though they probably put track history and all that other stuff in their stuff. So what I'm trying to get at here is when you see this, please realize that your participants, your authors, need training. And if you don't know what training to give, then my suggestion to you as working group chairs is you might be the problem and you need training, okay? And I say that in the nicest way possible. It's like, I want to help you. Let me help you help them, and this will make everything happier. You may know in the cram down parts, there's a venue that you can mark. And what does the venue do? It says the working group name, mailing list, and here's the GitHub. There's also ways to put that into the data tracker in other ways. And I would urge you to do that, because I would much rather send you a pull request with 27 grammar fixes than post it on the list and cause you to spend 3 hours, you know, figuring out which sentence exactly I was trying to fix, because the sentence has 6 variations throughout the document, okay? But if I'm sitting there reading it and doing a review, I can just go to whatever. And the other thing I want to say is that there's a certain resistance, and I see this among people older than me, against using cram down, okay? And I recently went through this. We did all of DHC V6 BIS. We did the 8415 in cram down, and then we did BIS, and somehow we did it in XML. And wow, it's hard to do grammar edits on XML because you get into all sorts of stuff. And anyway, I wish I'd pushed harder to not do it that way, but we did it that way, and it's done, whatever. But the point is that life would have been easier if we could have done that. And my opinion is that cram down is so much better than trying to screw with XML. Please just go that way. So I don't know if Martin Thompson is in the room. Martin Thompson has done a wonderful set of make files. You see they are not present in any of these repos. Well, both of them now have it, okay? Please use them. If they're too complicated for you, they fail, you don't like them, they don't work on your WSL system or your QNX box or your Amiga or something like that. I have a 27-line make file. No, I have a 14-line make file. The 27-line is, which is, you know, just does the minimum, and that's still better than what we have here, which has no instructions at all.
So Michael, if you want to allow any comments, you need to stop.
Yeah, I need to stop. Please speak. Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 2 minutes. We have a pretty hard stop, so.
Jeff has, I'll keep this brief. reason why we end up with this mess of text files and XML is people don't know how to use tags. People don't. People are not devs. They need to learn how to grok those things before you actually complain about it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. As I said, people are not developers, and that's why this has happened. And the developers are like, please.
Yeah, Leslie Daigle. So yeah, where?
Pardon me?
Where do I get the training that I obviously need?
Yes, that's exactly the point. So that's actually a good question was there. And I'm actually really enthusiastic with the suggestion about having screencasts and YouTubes and things like this. And I would be happy to make them myself.
Yeah, and
but
specifically
presently,
for the purposes of IETF document development.
yeah. Other than that, you know, if you want me to sit down with coffee and walk you through them, I will be happy to do that too.
That's not very scalable. Exactly, it doesn't scale. All right, so Hank, 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm Hank. Thank you. And I volunteered to create a skeleton markdown file with all the typical things.
I know. I'll make a comment, but I suspect it's going to be like I'm gonna try.